Close your eyes, take a slow breath in, and breathe out. The day is over. Whatever happened today, you can let it go now. Tonight you are going to listen to a story, a real story about a real life. You don't need to try to remember anything. Just listen. Just breathe. Let the story carry you into sleep. Emma was 26 years old, and she lived in London. She had moved there from Istanbul 3 years ago for a job at a small publishing company near Covent Garden. The company published travel books, beautiful books with photographs of mountains, deserts, old cities, forgotten places. Emma loved her work, but London itself had taken longer to love. She lived in a small flat in East London. Flat, that's the British word for apartment. In American English, you say apartment. In British English, you say flat. Emma's flat was on the 3rd floor, and she had made it entirely her own. There were plants on every windowsill. The windowsill is the narrow ledge at the bottom of a window. Her windowsills were full of green things, basil, rosemary, and a small lemon tree that she talked to occasionally. It was a Monday morning in October. The sky outside was gray, not dramatically gray, just quietly, persistently gray, the way London is gray in autumn. Emma stood at her kitchen counter waiting for her coffee to brew. To brew, when coffee brews, it is slowly mixing with hot water, developing its flavor. The coffee is brewing. Let the tea brew for a few minutes. I always brew a strong pot on Monday mornings. While she waited, she checked her phone. There was a message from her mother. In Turkish, of course. Her mother never wrote in English. The message said, "Are you eating well? Don't forget your coat today. London is cold in October. Call me on Sunday. I love you." Emma smiled at her phone. Then she poured her coffee into a travel mug and went to catch the tube. The tube, London's underground train system. I take the tube to work every day. The tube was crowded at rush hour. Rush hour, the time of day when most people are commuting to or from work. Usually 7 to 9 in the morning and 5 to 7 in the evening. I try to avoid the tube at rush hour. The roads are always terrible during rush hour. The platform was crowded. It was always crowded at 8:15. People in coats and scarves, staring at their phones or staring at nothing at all. Emma put her earphones in and opened a podcast about the history of London. She found it comforting. Something that makes you feel calm and less alone. The sound of rain is comforting to me. There is something comforting about a warm cup of tea. Talking to an old friend is always comforting. The train arrived with a rush of warm air. Emma stepped on and found a seat near the window, a small luxury on the Central line at rush hour. She watched the underground stations pass, their tiled walls sliding by in the dark. Bethnal Green, Liverpool Street, Bank, St. Paul's, each name a small history. The publishing company was called Meridian Books. It was on a quiet street behind the Covent Garden Market. The building was old, Georgian probably, with tall windows and dark wooden floors that creaked when you walked on them. To creak, the sound old wood makes under pressure, a low, complaining sound. The stairs creak in this old house. She could hear the floorboards creaking above her. Her colleague James was already at his desk. James was 32, slightly disheveled. Disheveled means untidy in a gentle, harmless way, and his hair always looked like he'd just come in from the wind. "Morning," he said, without looking up. "Morning," Emma said back. This is how many British people greet each other at work. Not, "Good morning, how are you?" Just, "Morning," short, simple, comfortable. Emma sat down at her desk and opened her laptop. She had a manuscript to review that day. Manuscript, the written text of a book before it has been published. The author sent us a manuscript. I spent the whole weekend reading the manuscript. The manuscript she was reading was about Patagonia, the remote region at the southern tip of South America. She opened it, settled into her chair, and began to read. At 11 o'clock, an email arrived. It was from her editor, Margaret. Margaret was 60 years old, sharp-minded, rarely smiled before noon, and wore the same 3 cardigans in rotation. The email said, "Emma, I need you to travel to Iceland next month. We have a new project, a book about the north, the light, the landscape, the silence. I think you are the right person for this. Come and see me at 2 o'clock. Emma read the email 3 times. Iceland. She had never been to Iceland. She had seen photographs, the black volcanic beaches, the green lights moving across a dark sky. She felt something she couldn't quite name, a mixture of excitement and nervousness. In English, we have a word for this feeling, apprehensive. When you are apprehensive, you are a little anxious about something in the future, not terrified, just uncertain. I was apprehensive about starting the new job. She felt apprehensive as the plane began to descend. Emma closed her laptop and walked to the window. Outside, London was doing what London does in October, existing, quietly, grayly, beautifully. She thought about Iceland. She thought about darkness, 20 hours of night in winter. Then she thought, but also the light, the 4 hours of extraordinary light. She went back to her desk and typed a reply. I'll be there at 2. Notice what Emma wrote. I'll be there at 2. She used will. In English, we use will for decisions made in the moment. Emma decided just then, while reading the email, so she said, I'll be there. If she had already planned it, she might say, I'm going to be there at 2. Will for spontaneous decisions, going to for plans already made. I'll have the soup, decided right now at the restaurant. I'm going to have soup tonight. You already planned your dinner. At 2 o'clock, Emma knocked on Margaret's door. Margaret's office felt like it belonged to a different era. Books everywhere, a real wooden desk, heavy and dark, covered in papers, and one small lamp that was always on. Sit down, Margaret said. Emma sat. I'll get straight to the point, Margaret said. I'll get straight to the point. A very common English expression meaning, I'm going to say the important thing immediately without small talk. I don't want to waste your time, so I'll get straight to the point. We're publishing a new series, Margaret said. Books about solitude, about places where silence still exists. Iceland is the first. I want you to go there for 2 weeks, interview the locals, photograph the landscape, and write a story, not a guidebook, a story. Emma looked at her. That's not usually what we do, she said. I know, Margaret said. That's why I want you to do it. There was a silence between them. Not an uncomfortable silence, the kind that means something is being understood. When do I leave? Emma asked. November the 3rd, Margaret said. 3 weeks from now. Emma nodded. Margaret reached into a drawer and placed a small book on the desk. Read this before you go, she said. It was a collection of Icelandic folk stories. Every place has its own language, Margaret said. Not just the words, the pace, the rhythm, the silences. Learn the silences before you arrive. Solitude. Let's hold this word for a moment. Solitude is the state of being alone, but not in a sad way. Solitude is chosen. Solitude is peaceful. Compare loneliness. You are alone and you don't want to be. Solitude. You are alone and you have chosen it. I enjoy my solitude in the mornings, just me and my coffee. She finally had the solitude she had always needed. That evening, Emma sat by her window with the Icelandic folk stories open on her lap. But she wasn't reading. She was thinking. Outside, a woman was walking a large, slow dog who stopped at every lamppost. 2 teenagers were laughing about something on a phone. A delivery man was checking an address. She loved this about cities, the way everyone was living their own complete story, right next to you, completely unaware of yours. Before you drift into sleep, let the words from tonight settle gently. Flat, a British word for apartment. To brew, to prepare slowly with hot water. Comforting, making you feel calm and safe. Rush hour, the busy time for travel. To creak, the sound of old wood. Apprehensive, slightly anxious about something ahead. Solitude, peaceful, chosen aloneness. Will for spontaneous decisions. Going to for plans already made. Rest now. Emma's story continues, but for this moment, just breathe. Just rest. 3 weeks passed quickly. The way time passes when something is coming. Not slowly, the way it does when you are bored, but in a rush. Suddenly it was the 2nd of November, and Emma had not yet packed. Her suitcase was open on the floor of her bedroom. Around it, like a small disaster, were piles of clothes, jumpers, thermal layers, thick socks. Jumper, the British word for a warm knitted top. Americans say sweater, British people say jumper. It's cold today. I need a jumper. She was wearing a thick gray jumper and looked very comfortable. At 9 o'clock, her phone rang. It was her mother. "Are you packed?" her mother asked. "Almost," Emma said. "Almost means no," her mother said. Emma laughed. "Iceland," her mother said, in a tone that suggested she had been thinking about Iceland for 3 weeks and had not yet come to terms with it. To come to terms with something, to gradually accept a difficult situation. It took her years to come to terms with leaving her hometown. "I'm slowly coming to terms with living so far from my family." He struggled to come to terms with the change. "It's work, Mom," Emma said. "I know it's work," her mother said. "But why does work have to be in Iceland? Why can't work be in, Italy?" "Because we're not publishing a book about Italy." "You could suggest it." "Mom, I'm just saying." Emma smiled and sat on the edge of her bed. Her mother, simultaneously proud and worried, always both at once, simultaneously, at the same time. She was simultaneously excited and terrified. He felt simultaneously grateful and guilty. The 2 things happened simultaneously. There was no warning. "Call me when you land," her mother said. "I always do." "Call me before you land, too." "That's not how phones work on planes, Mom." A pause. "Just be careful." "I will," Emma said, and she meant it, the way you mean things you've said 100 times but still believe. Emma's alarm went off at 5:15 the next morning. She lay still for a moment, in that warm, soft space between sleep and waking. Then she remembered Iceland. She got up, showered quickly, and made coffee, proper coffee in the mocha pot. She stood at the window while it brewed. The street was empty at this hour. just the amber glow of the streetlights, a cat sitting on a wall across the road, watching the empty street with great concentration. She liked this time of morning, before the city woke up, when it was just her and the quiet and the light that was still deciding whether to come or not. She watered her plants. She said quietly to the small lemon tree, "I'll be back in 2 weeks. Don't die." The lemon tree said nothing, which Emma took as agreement. The taxi arrived at 6. The driver had a radio playing softly, something classical, strings and a piano, which suited the dark morning perfectly. At the airport, Emma checked in, went through security, and found her gate 23B. Let's learn some airport vocabulary. To check in, to register your arrival at the airport and hand over your luggage. I need to check in 2 hours before the flight. Security, the area where bags and passengers are scanned. The queue at security was very long. Gate, the specific door where you board your plane. Please proceed to gate 23B. The gate closes 30 minutes before departure. Departure, the time of leaving. Arrival, the time of arriving. Departure is at 8:20. Estimated arrival is 2 hours later. Emma bought a bottle of water and a pastry and sat near the large windows. Outside on the tarmac, planes were moving slowly like enormous patient animals. Tarmac, the dark surface area outside the terminal where planes wait. They sat on the tarmac for an hour before taking off. Her flight was called at 8 o'clock. She gathered her things. She took one last look at the gray London sky. Then she walked to the gate. The flight to Reykjavik was 3 hours. Emma had a window seat. She slept for the first hour. Then she woke to find that the landscape below had completely changed. There was no longer any green, no fields, no forests, no cities, just dark rock, white snow, and the black glittering surface of the sea. Emma pressed her forehead against the cold glass. The woman sitting next to her, reading a thick novel, noticed her expression and smiled. "First time?" the woman asked. "Is it that obvious?" Emma said. The woman laughed. "Everyone looks like that the first time, like they've never seen the world before." The wheels touched down at 11:20. A few passengers applauded. Some people always clap when planes land. Emma had never understood why, but she always found it quietly comforting. The airport was small and clean. Emma waited at the baggage carousel, the moving belt that delivers your luggage. A man was standing nearby holding a sign, Emma Yilmaz, Meridian Books. "That's me," Emma said. The man smiled. "I'm Björn," he said. "I'm your driver and your guide for the 2 weeks. "Björn," Emma repeated carefully. "Like the bear?" He looked pleased. "Yes, Björn means bear in Old Norse. Most people don't know that." "I read a lot," Emma said. They walked out through the glass doors. The cold hit Emma like something physical, not just temperature, a presence, sharp, clean, absolute. She stopped walking for a moment. She just stood there, breathing in the Icelandic air. Björn waited patiently. He had done this before. "Okay," Emma said finally. "I'm ready." Tonight's grammar note, the past perfect. We use it when we are already talking about the past, and we want to refer to something that happened even earlier. When I arrived at the station, the train had already left. The arrival is past. The train leaving is further back, past perfect. She recognized him because they had met before. By the time he called, she had already made her decision. I was tired because I hadn't slept well. The structure had, plus the past participle, had gone. had seen, had spoken, hadn't known, hadn't arrived. Let the words settle as you breathe. Jumper, simultaneously, to come to terms with, tarmac, departure, arrival, and the past perfect, had gone, had already left, hadn't known. Rest now. Emma has arrived in Iceland. Tomorrow she will see things she has never seen, but for now, sleep. Breathe slowly. The night is calm. You are safe and comfortable. Let the story continue. Björn drove Emma south from Reykjavik along the coast. On one side, the sea. On the other, mountains. Emma sat in the passenger seat and watched the landscape change. There were almost no trees. This surprised her. The land was open and exposed, fields of dark lava rock covered in thick green and yellow moss. Lava, the molten rock that comes from a volcano. When lava cools, it becomes hard black rock. The lava fields stretched for miles in every direction. Iceland is a young island, shaped entirely by volcanic activity. Iceland is only about 16 million years old, Björn said. In geological terms, that is very young. How old is the Earth? Emma asked. About 4.5 billion years, Björn said. Emma looked out at the lava fields. So this is a young country, she said. Still becoming? Björn glanced at her. Exactly, he said. They arrived at Reynisfjara beach just before 2 o'clock. Emma stepped out of the car and stopped. The beach was black. Not gray, not dark brown, truly black. Black volcanic sand, stretching in both directions as far as she could see. The waves were enormous. They rose far out at sea and came crashing in with tremendous force. Tremendous, very great in amount or intensity. The storm was of tremendous force. She made a tremendous effort to stay calm. The noise was absolutely tremendous. To the right, great columns of black basalt rock rose from the sand like the pipes of a cathedral organ. Basalt, a type of dark volcanic rock that often forms in hexagonal columns, 6-sided pillars, perfectly geometric, made entirely by nature. How were they formed? Emma asked. Björn said, when lava meets cold water, it cools very quickly. The rock contracts as it cools, and it cracks into these shapes, always 6 sides, the most efficient shape in nature. Emma walked toward the columns. She placed her hand against one. The rock was cold and rough under her palm. She thought about what Björn had said. Lava, which is chaos, which is destruction, meeting cold water and becoming this, perfect geometry, permanent structure, something from nothing, order from chaos. Let's notice the prepositions in tonight's story, the small words that tell us where things are or how they move. Along, moving beside something extended. The road runs along the coast. She walked along the beach. Toward, in the direction of. She walked toward the columns. Beyond, further than on the other side of. Beyond the beach, there was only ocean. Against, in contact with, touching. She placed her hand against the rock. Beneath, under, below. The black sand was cold beneath her feet. They sat on a large flat rock near the columns. The wind pulled at their coats. Do you live near here? Emma asked. I grew up in a small town about 40 kilometers east, Björn said. My family has been here for 11 generations. 11 generations, Emma repeated. That's about 300 years? Something like that. Do you ever want to leave? She asked. Björn was quiet for a moment. He looked at the sea. I left once, he said. I spent 2 years in Copenhagen studying. Did you like it? I liked it very much, he said. But I missed the silence. What does the silence here sound like? Emma asked. Björn looked at her as if the question surprised him. Then he smiled slowly. Like this, he said, and he said nothing more. They sat and listened to the waves, the wind, the distant cry of a seabird. After a while, Emma understood. The silence here was not the absence of sound. It was the presence of only the necessary sounds: wind, water, stone. That evening, Björn drove Emma to a small guest house in a village called Vik. The guest house was run by a woman named Sigrid, in her 60s, small, precise in her movements, with white hair and sharp gray eyes that missed nothing. Precise, exact, careful, accurate. She was precise in everything she did. Nothing was left to chance. His instructions were always clear and precise. Sigrid showed Emma to her room. It was small and white, a single bed, a wooden chair, a small window. Through the window, Emma could see the black beach, and beyond the beach, the sea, and above the sea, the last gray light of the afternoon. Dinner is at 7, Sigrid said. Lamb soup. It will be ready. She said it the way certain people say things, not as information, but as a fact of the universe. The next morning, Emma met an old fisherman named Gunnar. He was 78 years old, with hands like 2 weathered maps, every line and crease a story, weathered, changed by long exposure to wind and weather. His face was weathered by 60 years at sea. The old building was weathered and worn, but still standing. His house was warm and cluttered. Fishing nets on the walls, photographs, old maps, a cat sleeping on every available surface, cluttered, full of objects, somewhat disorganized. The desk was cluttered with books and papers. His mind felt cluttered, too many thoughts at once. I want to ask you about the sea, Emma said. Gunnar nodded slowly, as if he had been waiting for exactly this question. I went out on my first boat when I was 8, he said, with my father. It was January. The sea was very rough. Were you frightened? Emma asked. He looked at her with something that might have been amusement. Of course, he said. Anyone who says they are not frightened of the sea is either lying or has not been paying attention. But you kept going out, Emma said, every day for 60 years. Yes, he said simply. He was quiet for a moment. When you are afraid of something and you do it anyway, that is not bravery. Bravery is a big word for a simple thing. The simple thing is, you go. Because the sea is there, because the fish are there, because your father went and his father before him. Emma put her pen down and looked at the old man. Do you have a word in Icelandic, she asked, for that feeling? Doing something frightening because it must be done? Gunnar thought for a long moment. We have a word, he said, threk. It means endurance, but also courage, but also simply continuing. Going forward when forward is hard, Emma wrote in her notebook, threk. Going forward when forward is hard. She looked at those words for a long time. Now let the words rest in you. Tremendous, very great, powerful, precise, exact and careful, weathered, shaped by time and elements, cluttered, full, somewhat disordered. Threk, going forward when forward is hard, and the prepositions along, toward, beyond, against, beneath, sleep well. Let Iceland settle into your sleep. You are still. Your breathing is slow. The story continues. On her 4th night in Iceland, Björn sent Emma a message at 10 o'clock. It said, "Look outside, now." Emma had been writing notes at her desk. She went to the window. The sky was clear, no clouds, just a vast darkness full of stars. more stars than Emma had ever seen. In cities, you forget about stars. The artificial light hides them, but here the Milky Way was visible, a pale, dense river running across the sky. Dense, thick, tightly packed. The forest was dense and dark. A dense crowd had gathered outside. Another message: "Put on your coat. Come outside." She stepped out into the cold. Björn was standing in the field behind the guest house, looking north. Then Emma saw it. At first it was subtle, just a faint greenish glow at the edge of the horizon. Subtle, not obvious, delicate, easily missed. The difference was subtle but important. She gave a subtle smile, not quite visible to everyone. Then, over the course of a few minutes, the light grew. It moved, not in a straight line. It rippled, it folded, it shifted from green to pale violet and back again. To ripple, to move in gentle wave-like motions. The light rippled across the sky like something alive. The water rippled gently when she touched it. Emma stood very still. She had seen photographs of the northern lights. She had seen videos, but nothing had prepared her for the reality, the feeling that the sky itself was alive, breathing, thinking. "In Iceland, we call them norðurljós," Björn said quietly, "the lights of the north." They stood in silence for almost an hour. Later, inside, Björn said, "My grandmother told stories about the lights. She said they were the souls of people who had not yet found their place." "Do you believe that?" Emma asked. He was quiet. "I believe that when my grandmother told that story, she was telling me something true. Whether the lights are actually souls, that's not the point." "What is the point?" Emma asked. "That some things are restless," he said. "And restlessness is not a flaw. It's what keeps moving." Restless, unable to be still, always searching. She was restless in her job, always looking for something more. The restless sea never stops moving, displaced, removed from your natural place. She had felt displaced in the new country for years. The earthquake displaced thousands of people from their homes. Now let's talk about modal verbs: could, might, and would. Could, past ability or present possibility. I could see the lights from my window. It could rain tomorrow. Might, weaker possibility. It might be the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. She might come tomorrow. She's not sure yet. Would, hypothetical situations, polite requests, or the future seen from the past. I would live in Iceland if I could. Would you like some tea? She didn't know that she would fall in love with this place. On her 10th day, a storm came. Björn had warned her the night before. Tomorrow we can't travel. Wind gusts up to 90 kilometers per hour, possible snow. Gust, a sudden strong burst of wind. A gust of wind blew the papers off the table. The gusts were strong enough to knock you sideways. Emma had looked at the calm evening sky and found it hard to believe. The next morning, she understood. She woke to the sound of wind pressing against the walls of the guest house. Not the gentle wind she had grown used to, but something wilder. Something that wanted in. Sigrid was calm in the way that people are calm when they have lived through many storms. She had made porridge and put extra wood by the fireplace. "We stay inside today," she said. "Inside is enough." Björn arrived on foot, and the three of them spent the morning in the warm kitchen. The wind was extraordinary. At its strongest, the whole house seemed to lean. It was Sigrid who began talking. She told them about the worst storm she had ever seen. 1993. She had been 30 years old, with 2 young children. Her husband was a fisherman. He went out 3 days before the storm, she said. The forecast was clear, but the sea changed. The kitchen was very quiet. Emma set down her pen. He came back, Sigrid said. 2 of the men on his boat did not. She said it simply, without drama, the way Icelanders said hard things as facts that existed in the world, not as wounds to display. After that, my husband stopped fishing, Sigrid continued. He became a carpenter. He said the sea had given him enough. Do you think the sea agreed? Emma asked. Sigrid looked at her for a moment. Then she smiled, the first time Emma had seen her smile fully. The sea doesn't make agreements, Sigrid said. That's what makes it the sea. Let's look at the passive voice, a structure that appeared several times tonight. In an active sentence, the storm closed the roads. In a passive sentence, the roads were closed by the storm. We use the passive when we don't know who did something. The letter was delivered this morning. Or when we want to focus on what happened, not who did it. 2 men were lost at sea. Or in formal writing, the manuscript was reviewed by the editor. The structure, to be in the right tense, plus the past participle, present passive. The book is being written, past passive. The book was written last year, future passive. The book will be published in spring. By afternoon, the worst had passed. Emma and Björn went to the beach. The waves were still high, dark gray and powerful, still carrying the energy of the night. Emma stood at the edge and said, almost to herself, "It's not about silence at all. It's about scale." "Scale?" Björn said. "In cities, everything is built for you. You are always the right size. But here," she gestured at the beach, the waves, the sky, "here you are appropriately small." Björn was quiet. Then, "I've lived here my whole life, and I've never said it like that." Tonight's words, dense, subtle, to ripple, restless, displaced, gust, and the modal verbs could, might, would, and the passive was written, were closed, will be published. Sleep well. Let the storm pass through your sleep harmlessly. Breathe. You are still here. The night is holding you gently. Emma had been in Iceland for 12 days. She had filled 4 notebooks. She had recorded 12 hours of interviews. She had taken over 300 photographs. But she had not yet written the beginning of the book. She couldn't name what was missing. And she had learned from Hildur and from Sigrid and from Björn that in Iceland, when you can't name something, you sit with it. You wait. To sit with something, to stay present with a feeling or a problem without immediately trying to solve it. I'm learning to sit with uncertainty. She sat with the question for weeks before the answer came. On her 6th day, Emma had met a young woman named Hildur, 23 years old, a poet. She lived alone in a converted barn on the edge of a lava field. Converted, changed from one use to another. The old factory had been converted into apartments. Hildur met them at the door wearing paint-stained overalls and eating an apple. "I know why you're here," she said. "You want to know about silence." "Yes," Emma said. "Everyone wants to know about silence," Hildur said. "Come in. I'll make tea. I have opinions." Over tea, Hildur spoke for almost an hour. "People come here for the silence," she said. "They say they want peace. They want to escape the noise. But what they actually want, what they're really looking for, is to hear themselves think." "Is that what you find here?" Emma asked. "I find the opposite," Hildur said. "I grew up here. For me, the silence is not peaceful. It's demanding, requiring a lot of effort or attention. It was a very demanding job, long hours, high expectations. She was a demanding teacher, but completely fair. When it's quiet, Hildur continued, you have no excuse. You can't blame the noise. You can't say, I would have written more, but it was too loud. There were too many distractions. Here, there are no distractions, just you and the page. The silence demands that you face yourself. Hildur showed Emma some of her poems. One was called The Visitor. It was about a woman from a warm country who comes north in winter looking for something she cannot name. Emma read it twice. The third time, she realized she was reading about herself. Did you write this before I came? She asked. Hildur smiled. I write about everyone who comes here. You all arrive with the same look, like you left something behind and you're not sure if you want it back. What do you think happens to the visitors? Emma asked. Do they find what they're looking for? Hildur tilted her head. Some of them realized they were looking for the wrong thing. She paused. That's actually better. Now let's look at phrasal verbs. Verbs combined with a preposition that create a new meaning. To look for, to search. She was looking for something she couldn't name, to find out, to discover information. I'll find out and let you know. To come across, to encounter unexpectedly. I came across a poem that seemed to be about me. To face up to confront something difficult. It's time to face up to the problem, to leave behind, to not take something with you. She left her old life behind when she moved. To look back on, to think about the past. Looking back on it now, I understand why it happened. On her 13th day, Björn took Emma to a natural hot spring in the hills above the village. The path wound through lava fields and across a shallow stream. To wind, when a path winds, it curves and turns, not moving in a straight line. The road winds through the mountains. The river winds across the valley floor. The hot spring was a pool about the size of a large room. Steam rose from the surface. Around it, snow lay on the ground. The contrast was remarkable. The cold white world around it and the warm mineral blue water within. They sat on the edge and lowered their feet into the water. Emma let out a long breath. The Icelanders have a phrase, Björn said, "Theta reddest." What does it mean? Emma asked. It means it will all work out. Everything will be fine. But it's more than that. It's a philosophy, a belief that things have a way of resolving themselves if you don't panic. Theta reddest. It will all work out. Emma said it quietly to herself. She thought about the manuscript she hadn't started, about the beginning she hadn't found. Theta reddest, she thought. They sat by the spring for a long time. Eventually, Emma asked, if you could live anywhere, where would you go? Björn thought seriously. I would choose here, he said, but not because I haven't considered other places, because I have, and I still come back to this. The light in those 4 hours, the way the ground moves sometimes, very slightly, reminding you it's alive. The fact that I know the names of the mountains, he paused. When you know the names of things around you, you are somewhere. Emma thought about Istanbul. She knew the names of the hills. She knew the names of the neighborhoods. She knew which bakery opened earliest on Sundays. She knew the number of the ferry to Kadıköy. She still knew all of this, even from 3 years away. I think, Emma said slowly, I might go home for Christmas. She surprised herself by saying it. but it felt true. Let's end tonight with relative clauses. We use who for people. Gunnar, who had fished for 60 years, had hands like weathered maps. Which are that for things? The hot spring, which was surrounded by snow, was perfectly warm. Where for places? Istanbul, where Emma had grown up, was still home. Whose for possession? The fisherman whose hands told 60 years of stories was called Gunnar. Defining clauses, no commas, essential information. Non-defining clauses, with commas, additional information. Tonight's words, to sit with, converted, demanding, to wind, theta reddest. And phrasal verbs, look for, find out, come across, face up to, leave behind, sleep well, theta reddest. The night is very deep now. Your body is heavy and still. Let this final chapter carry you into sleep. On her last night in Iceland, Emma could not sleep. Not because of worry, just because she was aware, very clearly, that this was the last time she would lie in this bed, in this white room, with this particular darkness outside. She had come to love the darkness here. She got up, put on her coat over her pajamas, and went outside. The sky was clear, millions of stars, the Milky Way like a river of pale light running from one edge of the sky to the other. Then, slowly, at the northern edge, a faint green shimmer. Not the full display of her first night, just a quiet pulse of color, a reminder. She watched it for 20 minutes. Then she went back inside, sat at the desk, opened her laptop, and wrote. She wrote for 2 hours without stopping. The beginning she had been looking for was not about Iceland. It was about her. She wrote, I came to Iceland looking for silence. I had been told it was a silent country by guidebooks, by photographers, by people who had been, but Iceland is not silent. It is full of wind and water and ancient rock that hisses with heat. What Iceland is honest. Here, nothing pretends to be other than it is. The darkness is dark. The cold is cold. The beauty is extreme and indifferent. It does not soften itself for you. I came looking for silence. What I found was a mirror, and in it, finally, I could see myself clearly. She sat back and read it twice. Then she sent it to Margaret. At 2:30 in the morning. Margaret replied at 7. Emma was still asleep when the message arrived. When she woke and saw it, her heart moved. It said, This is it. This is the book. Well done, Emma. Come home. Emma read it 3 times. Then she looked out the window. The sun was rising, low and golden and extraordinary, turning the black beach to copper. She thought, 4 hours of this. Then she thought, it is enough. At breakfast, Sigrid placed a small object on the table next to Emma's coffee. It was a smooth black stone, the size of an egg, perfectly oval. From the beach, Sigrid said. To remember. Emma picked it up, cold and dense and real in her hand. Thank you, Emma said. Sigrid nodded, with the particular Icelandic nod that means, I hear you, that is enough. We don't need to say more. Let's look at the vocabulary of emotion, beyond happy and sad, moved, emotionally affected by something. I was deeply moved by the old fisherman's story. Relieved, glad something difficult is over. She was relieved when the manuscript was finally finished. Nostalgic, a gentle sadness when thinking about the past. Looking at old photographs always makes her nostalgic. Bittersweet, happy and sad at the same time. Leaving Iceland felt bittersweet, glad to go home, sad to leave. Overwhelmed when feelings are too many or too strong. She felt overwhelmed by the beauty of the northern lights. gratified, satisfied when your effort is recognized. She felt deeply gratified when Margaret said, "This is the book." Björn drove Emma to Reykjavik airport on the morning of the 15th day. They took a longer route than necessary, along the coast where the sea was visible on one side and the mountains on the other. Neither of them mentioned it. They both understood. Halfway to the airport, Björn said, "Will you come back?" Emma thought about it honestly. "Yes," she said, "I think I have to." "Why?" "Because there are places that do something to you. You arrive as one kind of person, you leave as a slightly different kind, and you have to come back to see which version is more real." Björn was quiet. Then, "Istanbul is like that for me. I went once 5 years ago. I think about it sometimes. The Bosphorus in the evening, the way the city exists on 2 continents and doesn't seem to find that remarkable." Emma smiled. "You should come back too," she said. "Maybe I will," he said. At the airport, they stood by the entrance. "Thank you," Emma said, "for everything." "You found what you came for," Björn said. "I didn't do very much." "You showed me the beach on the first day," Emma said. "That was everything?" They shook hands. Emma turned and walked inside. At the door, she turned back once. Björn was still standing there. He raised a hand. She raised hers. Then she walked through the doors. English has many ways to say goodbye and to express gratitude. Goodbye, formal and final. Take care, warm, implies concern. Until next time implies you will meet again. Beyond thank you, I really appreciate it. I can't thank you enough. It meant a lot to me. You've been incredibly kind. And the responses, "You're welcome," of course. "Not at all. It was my pleasure. Anytime." London in November was exactly as Emma had left it. Gray, busy, loud. She took the tube home. Her flat smelled of coffee and books. The plants had survived. The lemon tree had produced 2 small fruits in her absence. Emma stood in front of it. "Well done," she said. She put the black stone on the windowsill next to the lemon tree. It looked right there, Iceland and Istanbul on one windowsill, London around her. She sat at her desk and opened her laptop. The beginning was there, waiting. She read it once more, then she wrote the next sentence, and the one after that. "Now, let all of tonight's language rest in you, moved, relieved, nostalgic, bittersweet, overwhelmed, gratified. These are the words for feelings that are too large for simple names, and the expressions, 'I can't thank you enough. It meant a lot to me. Take care. Until next time.'" Emma is writing. Björn is watching the sea. Sigrid has turned off the lamp. The northern lights are moving quietly across the Icelandic sky. No one is watching them now. They move anyway, because that is what they do. And you have listened through the night. Your brain has been absorbing English, not with effort, but with presence. The rhythm of it, the shape of its sentences, the warmth of its stories. This is how language enters you, not through lists, through listening, through being present in a story. Good night. Sleep deeply. Dream in English. Good night.